So the works cited page, the last part of your paper, at least last in the sense that, you know, it goes at the end of your paper. And that's actually important to mention. The works cited page does go at the very end of your paper after all of the text has been written. So you certainly want to follow all of our standard guidelines with this page, just like we have all of the other pages. You want to make sure that you're in 12-point font, one of the approved font styles, everything with the margins, everything with the page numbers. Every other expectation we've had with formatting does also apply on the works cited page. So once you've done that, just like you would a title on a title page or a first page, center the title works cited italicized at the top of the page. And the purpose of the works cited page, as we've gone over, you know, is to pay your academic debts, let the reader know where you have gotten your information, you know, citing your sources. And the way you want to organize your sources is alphabetically by the author's last name. And there are some, you know, different ways that books list their authors, but if you're going to the Purdue OWL website, you should be able to have kind of a sense on how to make those citations. So whatever the first author in your citation is, whatever the first author's last name is, that's what you want to use in terms of how you will structure this alphabetically. And it works the same way if you're working with an editor's name or a publication's name. You know, if you're working with a source that has no author. Again, I would be wary about sources without authors, but if one of them does kind of work in there, you still want to go in that alphabetical structure. I don't think I have to say anything more about that. Order your citations alphabetically. Citations need to be flushed to the left margin, and you don't want to indent this first line. This is a little bit tricky because we've been talking about indenting paragraphs 1/2 inch from the left margin, and you just use the tab key to do that. It's tempting to do the same thing with your citations, but you actually don't want to do that. You don't want to have the first line of your citation indented. But you do want the second, third, and so on lines of your citations indented. Now this gets tricky, because if you just go down to the second line of your citation and hit tab, it's going to tab either everything over, or it's going to actually tab that first line over. You're not going to get what you want out of that by just tabbing the second line. Because what you're doing there is you're telling the computer that you want this sentence that you haven't broken up at all, to be tabbed over. So when you hit tab anywhere in that left margin, the computer is going to register that as you wanting the whole line moved over. So the way to get around that, the way to trick the computer, is to, instead of continuing to type your citation, you know, like it's a sentence, like it's all sort of running together, you want to make sure that you go to the far left side, the very beginning of that second line. Hit the delete key, the backspace key, and you'll see your citation, you know, kind of combine with whatever came before it. You're going to want to put a space there, but instead of putting a space there, because that will just take you to how it was before, hit enter. So what you've done here is actually created a new line. And now you can hit tab, and you have a second line that's indented. And you can do the same thing with the third and fourth lines if you need to. So that's the way you kind of trick the computer into having the first line flushed with the margin and having the second line indented. And the reason we do this is it just makes all of the citations a little bit easier to tell apart. When you're looking at a page with a bunch of MLA citations, this is just the way that it becomes the most easy to read. And my last bit of advice is just make sure that you've checked all the specific ways to cite all of your different types of sources. And I will just draw your attention back again to everything needing to be in the same font size and font style. What I've seen over the years as a teacher is sometimes I'll look at a works cited page and I'll see that citations have been copy-pasted from websites like EasyBib. And what happens in that case is they're not conforming to the same font styles. Now, the thing is, sometimes EasyBib will do a correct MLA citation. And my advice for that is make sure that your citations are just conforming to MLA standards. Just check them against the Purdue OWL website. Make sure that they line up with what I've talked about in the Works Cited page video. But if I come to a Works Cited page and I see that the rest of your paper is in Helvetica font, but you have citations that are in Times New Roman and they have a light blue outline, I know they've been directly copy-pasted and I know you haven't double-checked them. And even if the citation that you got from this website is correct and is in MLA format, that's still not conforming to MLA standards entirely. You've still broken the convention by using a different font and using a different highlight underneath the text. So when you're putting these citations into your Works Cited pages, please make sure that you're still conforming to the rest of the MLA format standards.